This was crazy. This little fellow was very athletic. He jumps up onto his chair. He hits me with this tiny little arm, and his arm, I am not lying to you, was like the size of a size 10 shoe. But he hit me right in my chin, and it buckled my knees, and I hit to the ground.
This is 56, a Pinellas County Sheriff's Office podcast. I'm Ricky Butler with Laura Sullivan and Ashley Cooley. We have a great guest on tap today. We are going back into the world of the Department of Detention and Corrections with one of my favorite people in the entire agency, because Sergeant Jimmy Fortner is just a beacon of joy every time I see him. And there's just no excuse for anybody out of the jail, because if Jimmy can be this happy all the time, it's just, there's nothing you can say. I mean,
you can too.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we're excited to have Sergeant Fortner to talk more about the Department of Detention and Corrections. We try to do a great job of covering everybody in the agency, and the Department of Detention and Corrections is the biggest part of our agency. So we've had some great guests in so far. Last we had Lieutenant Freddie Hayes, started some trouble with SWAT. So we'll see what kind of trouble Jimmy can get into with us. So
hopefully not much.
Not much. So welcome to 56, Jimmy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
And before we get into it, Ashley has a question.
I do. All right. So here is the scenario. For $50,000, would you go 6 months without showering, without deodorant, and without brushing your teeth? And you can't tell anyone. No one can know that this is what you're doing. Would you do it?
50 grand.
50,000?
Yeah.
No.
50,000.
And it's the toothbrushing that gets me. Definitely. That's the worst. Because the rest, I mean, because you could fudge the rest. I could just go swimming or something and then just happen to get clean. But I couldn't live without brushing my teeth for more than like a few hours. That would be, I wouldn't do that to all of you. Now,
I would get paid for that?
if it was a different amount of money, if you threw on another couple of zeros, yes.
You did say 50,000, right?
50,000.
I'd do it for $4. Money's money. Sign me up.
Oh man. I was initially going to say no, but then I had not thought about going in a pool. So if you're saying, could I go without showering for 6 months for $50,000?
But toothbrushing.
Didn't say anything about mouthwash though.
Correct.
You got to remember, there's people all over the world that don't do any of these things ever.
I feel absolutely terrible. You guys care about your hygiene a lot, don't you?
Well, you have to go to work. You
Well,
still have to live
in
your
PR.
normal
We
life.
have to function.
Money. The jail already stinks, so they would never know.
Well,
Can I just not use a toothbrush, or can I do like one of the chewed twigs, or use a washcloth or something?
A chewed twig?
I suppose that's
What about one of those
fine.
greeny dog
Primitive
treats
way
that's
of-
shaped like a toothbrush?
yeah.
I have those.
No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I couldn't either.
No.
I couldn't either. No way.
So Jimmy's buying dinner.
$4,
'cause he's-
huh?
yeah,
No, he went for
the jail
4.
guard
He
will do it,
lowballed
yes.
himself.
I'm down. You can Venmo me.
All right, yeah. So that was a good one. I like that. All right. So with that out of the way, we now know that Jimmy is disgusting.
Absolutely. I can't believe you didn't know this earlier.
I knew there was a smell.
I was wondering what that smell was. All right. So with that, Jimmy, how'd you become so disgusting? Tell us about your childhood. Where were you born?
I was born in Texas.
Okay.
My father was in the military, so we moved around. I lived majority of my life here in Florida. Went to school here in Florida. Went to Dixie Hollins.
All right.
Which is no longer Dixie
Just
Hollins.
Hollins.
Correct.
Just Hollins. I lived in Kansas City my whole life growing up, and then when I graduated, I moved out to New Mexico.
Okay. So back up a second. Now, what did you do when you were a kid? What did you like to do? Did you get in trouble?
I got in trouble all the time. I loved playing basketball. I love, we're really family orientated. I just love being with my family and doing all that. I had fun.
So you got siblings?
Oh yeah, I got 2 sisters.
Okay, 2 sisters.
Yes.
Are you the oldest?
No, I am the baby.
You're the baby.
Yes, so I was
Big
always
baby.
treated like a baby. Yes. My sisters, my mom, they'd always take great care of me. So
all right. So you were in trouble all the time, but love the family stuff. Then you all moved to New Mexico?
no, I moved out there when I graduated. I my sister was already living out there with her husband.
Okay.
And I needed a change. I didn't see myself going anywhere here at that time. I was doing the club thing and all that other stuff.
The club thing.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of clubs did you go to, Jimmy?
Oh, my God. Mako's, Stormin'.
Yeah.
You name it. The Turtle Club I used to go to.
The Turtle Club.
I used to enjoy that. It was funny. I used to go out at 10 o'clock at night. Now I'm in bed by 8:30. Life changes.
How the turntables.
Yes.
All right. So New Mexico, how was that?
I absolutely loved it out there. I met great people. I loved the job I had was stressful. I worked in the prison system out there.
And you went, so you graduate high school, end up out in New Mexico, and immediately start working for the prison.
Yes, right when I got out there, I was looking for a job. I tried pest control out there. I worked even in a gas station at night as an attendant, but I met some people out of playing basketball, and they told me they worked at the prison, and I went out there, and lo and behold, I spent close to 10, 15 years there.
Wow.
So
prisons in New Mexico. So, and we're talking, what year are we talking, Jimmy? Just for
in the 90s.
Okay, like early mid 90s.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Florida, the state prison system is a little bit notorious for not being, the greatest situation. They don't have air conditioning and some of this. What is in the big scheme of things in New Mexico? How are the prisons compared to county jails and things?
Well, prison's totally different than county jail.
Right.
In county jail, I see people that here have problems, but they have hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. When you're working in a supermax prison like I was in Santa Fe, that light's gone. It's already done. They're sentenced. Most of the time, they're sentenced for life. And it's people that just don't care. And it makes the job harder. And back when I worked there, the pay
wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it, but I needed a job, and I met great people, and I didn't want to leave.
So, all right. So relationships then, the
Yes.
people you met. So talk about, what was the training like there?
Well, the training would be like the training we have here, to be honest with you. If you have to have the right mentality, the right personality to work in any kind of correction setting, especially out there, because you're dealing with death. You see death all the time. You see fights. You see other R-rated stuff you ain't supposed to see. A normal person would see it and have nightmares. So you have to have a personality.
But so how old are you at this point when you start there?
Oh, I was in my 20s.
Okay, so 20-something Jimmy Fortner, how was that for you? Was it a hard adjustment, or had your friends prepared you, or?
Well, I prepared myself, because when I got in there, I thought being big, I'm a big person, and I wasn't disgustingly fat like I am today. I was skinny back then, and
you're for people who are listening and not viewing, like 6'6".
I am 6'6". Yes, 370 right now. But back then, I was damn good looking. I had a nice shape.
You still are. Come on.
All that stuff. And, I became a member of our corrections response team out there. And I thought I was bad. I can't say the A word.
Yeah, you can.
You can.
I thought I was badass.
Yeah.
So I thought I was untouchable. And it took a little while, not too long, till I realized the bigger you are, the more people want to challenge you, and the harder it is. I thought I could use my size as intimidation. And I wasn't thinking back then. My personal skills was, I was just coming off aggressive and this and that. And I found that didn't work for me.
Right, you got to talk to people.
Right. I had some good friends of mine out there at the prison system. They took me, they talked to me, helped me out a lot. And I learned PC skills, and I try to pass that on now to the younger people starting.
What kind of equipment did y'all carry?
Out there, we had a radio.
That's it?
Yes.
Handcuffs?
Handcuffs, yes, we did have handcuffs, but a radio and the handcuffs, that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Keys, hopefully.
Well, a lot of big keys. Those big Folger Adams keys and all that, depending where you work. Yeah. Oh, yes. That's big time.
All right, so talk about some of those hard lessons you learned out there.
Well, one of the best hard lessons I have learned, and people love it when I tell the story. I don't know how it would be, because I move a lot when I tell this story, and I think that makes a big impact on them. But
well, do what you got to do. We got a big room in here.
There was one time, I'm 6'6" again now. I'm a member of the CRT team. I'm a member of this and that. And this little person comes in. And when I say little person, I mean little person. This person was under 5 foot, but stocky, had a big black hand tattooed on his face.
Black hand?
Yeah, that tells you
Is that a gang thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Black hand is related to the Mexican Mafia.
Okay.
So they have that stuff on. So when people come in, you always have to see where they're going. If you're in the housing unit, you have to talk to them and all that. And I asked the little feller, I said, do you, are you involved?
Wait, this is like a genuine little person. Little
yeah.
fella. Okay.
Oh, God,
We're not talking
yes.
like this is a short guy. We're talking about like
Oh,
a
yeah.
dwarf.
No, this is a little feller. Yeah,
Okay.
like under the rainbow little feller. Yeah. Oh, yes.
okay.
Yes, it's a little feller.
Yeah.
And I said, you
Not
understand
over the rainbow,
English?
under the
Under,
rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be taller to be over the rainbow.
Oh,
Right.
God, yes. So I talked to him and I said, do you understand English? And he goes, see. I'm like, all right. So I get down and I'm laying out all the rules and stuff of this.
So he's new coming in.
Yeah, well, to this area.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm yelling. I'm not,
You're yelling?
well, yeah, I yelled at him a little bit because he couldn't hear that well.
Oh, okay.
So I'm yelling out and I'm
deaf
going
little
through
person.
this whole 30, 40-minute spill of the rules. And I have to have him sign because in this area, it was population. You're with everyone else. And you have to sign a piece of paper saying that I'm okay with that, to do that. He didn't want to be in protective custody or nothing. And when I do that and I push the paper over to him to sign, he goes, no habla. So he doesn't understand
After your 40
English.
minutes.
Yes. So excuse my language, but I said, you little beep, beep, and I stand up and we're at a desk similar to this right here. And he's sitting on the other side of the desk. And back then we had these big old computers and all that. And I get up and I walk around and I go to get a Spanish-speaking deputy. And he jumps up so quick. Have you ever saw the movie Leprechaun?
Yes.
This was crazy. This little fellow was very athletic. He jumps up onto his chair. He hits me with this tiny little arm. And his arm, I am not lying to you, was like the size of a size 10 shoe. That's his little. It was cute. It was adorable. But he hit me right in my chin, and it buckled my knees, and I hit to the ground. And then he proceeded to take my own big ass computer back then and slam it on top of me. So the deputies come in and they grab him one by each arm, and when they're going out, his little legs are just a kicking. And man, did I get made fun of, because here I am, a big person and all that, to have this training and all, but I just got beat up by a damn midget. I didn't even get a shot in. All right. And when I teach at the academy, or when I used to teach at the academy, I tell them this story because it ain't about how big you are. It's how you handle yourself and understand your surroundings. I took him. He's a little, he's a little person. I didn't. This guy ain't gonna do shit. I'm all right. So I just got up and I went around. I really wasn't paying attention to him.
Yeah, you put your guard down.
Well, I learned my lesson for that. So I still twitch every time I see little people coming through. It's terrible. I get so damn scared.
Oh, man. So The Wizard of Oz is a traumatic movie for you.
Oh my God! Yeah, I can't watch that.
Yeah. That's fantastic. All right. So, God, how do you even?
Well,
That's it, everybody. Thanks for coming.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, just on a procedural side note, if a little person comes into the jail here or in prison there,
Jimmy's running.
they no. They have the option of being in protective custody because of their size?
Well, yeah, when people come in, and it depends on where they are, they could, not necessarily here in the jail, they get put, classification figures it out there when they come in, if they go. But if they don't want to, they'll say they're mentally ill. They'll say they have a problem here in the jail. And they won't be put somewhere. They'll be put in a single cell. But out there, it's to walk the line. You have to... You walk the yard and all that. You got to sign. Hey, if something happens to me or anything like that.
Okay. Is that for everybody who goes in there, or just the? Okay.
Yeah, everyone has to sign. For
Okay.
that. Yes.
Wow.
Well, my question was, so you went from, so I'm like backtracking a little bit. You went from here, Kansas City, and you moved out to New Mexico, and you said you started working in corrections. What was your reason for that? Was it because you were I could do this because I'm really tall, or?
Well, there's two reasons. One, I was too damn dumb to go to college. I couldn't go to college. I barely made it through damn high school. And my wife will tell you, I am not handy at all. I can't fix nothing. So that ruled out carpentry, any of that. And I was looking, I said, I got to make a career of something. I got to be able to support a family because I knew I wanted to get married, I knew all this. I have to do something. And I looked into law enforcement. And I was very intrigued with it. And even when I was a kid and I went to Pinellas Park Mall back in the days, they used to have a booth there for corrections. And I saw that one day, and it has always been on my mind to get into law enforcement. And when I went out there, I talked to these people and they said it, I was excited. It's something I can do, and I can learn the rest.
Okay.
It was a career.
Nice.
So after the little person incident, was that pretty early on in your career? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Well, sort of in the middle.
yeah. So when you start there, I mean, what other assignments did you have? Where'd you work when you were in the prison
Well,
system?
I worked out there. I became a member of the STIU unit. I was a K-9. I ran the K-9 department out there.
Okay.
We had about 3 bloodhounds. We had a Malinois, and we had a Tavern, which was my dog out there.
The hell is that?
Are those the
know.
sort of like a long-haired?
Yeah,
Malinois
long-haired
sort of?
Malinois.
Yeah.
Yes,
They're beautiful
And
dogs.
Beautiful, and his name was Bosco. I loved him, and I loved that job. It was rewarding and all that, but you have to be in great shape for that. But in the jail, in the prison system with K-9, I didn't go out and do a lot of the tracking. I had a partner with me, and we used the bloodhounds for that. And
Did you have a lot of escapees?
no, but we went to these drug searching dogs. The dog I had was dual purpose dog. It can detect drugs, and you could do cell extractions with them
Oh, tell us about that.
and all that. You would put them on a leash. You would come up to a door. I didn't have the opportunity to do it, but we were ready for it if we had to. We'll tell the inmate, listen, you come out, do what we tell you to do, or we're going to send the dog in to get you. And he's going to bite the first thing that's given to him. And you'd be surprised the impact. Like when we would do shakedowns at the facility, I'd bring my dog out and I would just set him on this side while the whole line of inmates were down the wall. I'd set my dog here and I'd walk down to the other end. And I told him, if any of you make any sudden movements or anything, you will be bit. And the control was amazing. Canines inside the prison I think is beautiful. It's a great thing because inmates will challenge you no matter how big you are, how strong you are, they'll challenge you. But they don't want to be bit by a dog.
Yeah.
And it was a great tool. We used it. I was sent out to go to schools, check lockers. We did a lot of stuff with the dogs out there. When people would come in, visitors and all that, we'd run it through the cars and all that when they came in. It was an exciting, great job.
And you told me that your own employees would be screened when they came in by the dogs. So you had a lot of employees bringing contraband
we
in?
would screen. When you work in corrections and all that, absolutely, because everyone's tempted, especially if you're not making a lot of money, to bring stuff in to make extra money. Unfortunately, that's just part of the thing. So we would go random searches here, and then we even had a machine that we'd use for the visitors. You have to wash your hands with it, pad, and then put it through the machine. And any drugs, they would check your lunchbox. They would check everything when you came into work every day.
So you mentioned that you personally didn't ever do a cell extraction, but was that a thing that happened pretty often with the dogs? Because I would assume probably not, because the dog,
No, it could been it was thought of, but I don't think anybody's ever done it with it. Now I don't know what they do today, but back in those days when I was there, no, that did not happen.
Okay.
Did your dog ever bite anybody, period?
No, that's another sad thing. In training, yes, but
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But no, I never did. I was in the K-9 unit, I say maybe 2 years. I was a sergeant out there in the K-9 unit. And during that whole time, no, I never had
That's kind of a good thing.
That's a sign of a really effective
Yeah.
tool
This
is
dog
the
was
one you never
very-
have to use.
Yeah.
Oh, he was very intimidating.
Yeah.
He
If you
was
can
a great animal.
prevent the
Great.
use of force just by his presence. Then,
Yes, he was awesome.
So what else in New Mexico?
No, I just did that. I worked out at that prison. Worked in the K-9 unit, the STIU unit. We went to
STIU?
riots, the security threat group where we have gangs and all that.
So that kind of like an intelligence kind
Yes.
of thing? Okay.
And we would go out with the CRT. We had to respond to riots at other prisons or jails, or we had to help. So we would go out there. We would spend a couple weeks or something helping them out, just like we do here kind of with the emergency response team and stuff like that we have here, hurricane response. We would go out there and lend a hand to our brothers and sisters somewhere else.
Okay.
What's a riot like in a prison? Have you been through a riot?
Yeah, I haven't been through the riot, but I went to a riot that happened out in one of the prisons out there, and we had to contain it, help out contain it. And it's hectic, but it has a good flow to it because we were well trained and we brought them out the way they're supposed to be brought out, and it went good. Let's say it went good.
A good riot, as riots go.
The ending of it, went, that
Good
stuff
outcome.
went. The good outcome, yes, yes.
Wasn't there one before you got there that was really terrible though?
Oh yeah, the Santa Fe riots in New Mexico in 1980s.
Okay.
They had a real bad riots. One of the worst riots, I believe.
At the prison?
Well, at that prison for sure, but around it was one of the worst. And I believe there's a book called The Devil's Playground that can talk about it. And I got to talk about people that worked in there and all that stuff with it. It was a scary thing. No officers lost their lives at that time, but really to me they did because it affected them big time, mentally or personally. When you look into it, and I did research on it, that's got to be hard. There's a couple of them that lived in a pipe chase for 2 days, hidden inside a pipe chase.
What is that? What is a pipe chase?
Well, it's a real small, it's where the plumbing is for the toilets and all that.
Yeah, like behind the wall.
And I'm telling you, it is super small. And they were in there on top of each other, drinking the condensation off the pipes and stuff. From what I hear, these are just the stories I heard about it. It's just it's unbelievable, the stuff. And we used to actually take tours when I was there. We would take people through. They would film a lot of movies at that prison. The Longest Yard, the remake, was filmed there at that prison.
Okay.
And they do tours. It's still open today. If you ever go out there, you should go out there and do the tour of that prison. It's something else. It really is.
And it's maximum security outside of Santa Fe.
It's in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's a supermax prison there.
Okay.
The Old Main, it's called.
The Old Main.
Yeah. Now they have a mini division, a north division, and a south division there.
Okay. So what brought you back here?
What brought me back here is my wife. That's what brought me back here. Me and her were we were friends since high school. I've known her since we were 16, 17. And when I was out there and I was going through some hard times, I was married before, it didn't work out at all. And I would call down here, I'd talk. I came out to visit my sister that lives here. I ran into her and we started to talk on the phone and all that other good stuff. And I told her, I want to move back out here. I came out one time and I saw the job posting for here, and I was so excited. I said, I'm going to go down there and see what they would pay me. And man, I almost blacked out when they told me what they were going to pay me. And I go, you realize I barely graduated high school. It was Sergeant Antonelli at the time over at the old SAB. And I was just so excited. I couldn't wait to get back there and tell them I quit and come back out here. So right then started my permanent smile is the way I like to say it. Because when I realized it was hard working in that prison. Out here, we have so many good things. You're going to have your problems no matter where you work. But here, you get rewarded for a lot of things. We have Sism team. We have all this stuff to help you. The benefits are great. And then the people just make it. And I was getting married to childhood sweetheart. I've always loved her. And I haven't stopped smiling since.
So sweet.
It is sweet. So how long have you been with us now?
Going on 19 years.
Okay. So, all right. So you come back and how is, obviously, you pretty much just said it's a happier place to be, but
yes.
What are the biggest, walking into the Pinellas County Jail, what were some of the biggest differences? Well,
when I started, you have to be, I could do things in the prison system I couldn't do here. I can't do here. Let's just say that. You have to be smart. You have to the uses of force wise and dealing with these inmates, because remember, everyone's innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
So these people here are going to court. They're not sentenced. So I'd have to learn to calm back a little bit. And I used to work in receiving when I started. So I have to make sure that I handle myself professionally and all that.
I just cannot imagine you just going raw on somebody. I don't know.
Well, listen,
Picture him before he was a happy person.
Well,
Yeah, before the permanent smile.
Like, because he said a couple times, like, I'd be mean, and I just can't.
Well, you have to be. You have to learn to turn that switch because if I don't act and if someone's acting out and I don't turn that switch, one of my brothers and sisters next to me can get hurt. So I make sure that you have to have a switch. That's where a lot of people think that, they see me, I choose to be happy. I choose to come every day and smile. I make it a challenge every day I come to work to make people around me happy and smile because I think they'll be safer that way. And there will be, if people are happy and positive, the job's easier because we work in a very it's very depressing in there. So we make sure I try to build morale and I try to keep people happy and laughing and enjoy and let them know how much they're appreciated. Because going over the years when I first started here, you could see that a lot of people, the biggest gripe I've seen, especially when I was in training, they would come through, is that people didn't feel appreciated. I tell them all, you're making great money, but money doesn't make you happy. It really doesn't. Yeah, it can buy you everything you want, but you have to make yourself happy. You have to be surrounded by people that appreciate you. And I tell one thing I've always done in my career is to make sure people around me feel appreciated, and just it makes everything better. Sick time goes down, everything. People are smiling, joy coming to work, and in our line of work, that's a blessing.
So that big adjustment, obviously, dealing with the nature of the inmates here versus someone that's sentenced in a prison. What else? Some of the big differences. I mean, you definitely got more than a radio and handcuffs.
Oh yeah, we got a taser, we got a radio, we got everything we need. We're very well equipped here, but all that doesn't mean nothing. It's how you handle yourself in your PG skills, especially when you're dealing with. It's very sad because it's like a big nursing home over there. We have a lot of elderly people here for trespassing. We have that are not mentally stable. We have young people coming in. It just breaks your heart because their brains are fried from doing drugs or whatever they're doing out there. And they're coming in and they have no problems with covering themselves in feces, with banging or hurting themselves. And you have to be professional. And when you're dealing with it for 11 hours a day, it gets to the point where you want to snap. You just, and you can't. You have to realize this person is challenged. They're mentally challenged, and dealing with that. If you don't have that personality to do with that, you shouldn't work in that area. That's what's great about the jail. We have different areas where you can go and work with different kind of inmates. I love working in the healthcare building. I love working with these inmates. It's challenging every day, and I love that challenge.
So you said you started, though, when you first started, you started in receiving.
I started in receiving area, and then I worked in Central. I worked in the South Division, and then I got lucky. And I got to go to it just started called the court squad, where they brought detention deputies over to run all the inmates back and forth to court and work in the courthouse. And I got accepted to be the corporal over there. And I went over there as the corporal, and I loved that. Did that for, I'm going to say probably around 3 or 4 or 5 years. And then training came about. And my God, I knew that's what I wanted because I love making a difference with people. And where else? That's the best place you can do it.
Right. So I want to talk about training because I think that's probably where I encountered you first, was in training. We were working programming together. But early days, any notable stories here in Pinellas? I mean, there's a lot of crazy things coming in and receiving.
Oh, yes.
I know you got good stuff, Jimmy.
Well, listen, when people come in and different people come in dressed different ways, acting different things, and they have different stuff on them.
Such as, you got a story there, Jimmy. I can see it.
But
you're definitely going somewhere with that.
Well, listen, people bring in adult toys, and they're coming, or if it could be a man my size coming in with a mini skirt on and high heels. then you got to go through their property. And now you're taking out all these adult toys. Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy with that stuff.
Wow.
I mean, there's so much. It's a lot, Ricky. It's a lot of stuff that goes on there. It's the stuff you do when you see grown people in these cells and the stuff they do, and you're thinking to yourself, a normal person wouldn't do that stuff.
All right. So, Jimmy, you're talking like, I mean, this is just no big deal to you, but there had to be, whether it was here or in New Mexico, there had to be something where you walk in and you see something and you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, like this just doesn't happen
like
in the real world,
just
but it
leave
just
shaking
happened
your
to
head.
me.
I'm working at this place. Okay?
You're at the prison.
And we're working at this in this area. We have to go do checks. We have to check these people before we let the next shift go. So we had this Native American, and we had a sweat lodge back then. And in order to go to the sweat lodge, they had to follow the rules and all that. And this Native American inmate was always naked. He never wanted to put on clothes, none of that stuff. So he's there, and I realized he would be naked.
Hold on. When you're saying sweat lodge, like you're talking like their ceremonial.
Yeah, that's their religion.
So
they
part of their
got to
religion.
go there as
Okay.
long as they behaved, and they got to go there,
Right.
and
do their
religious stuff.
Okay.
And then they, he was allowed to keep a feather. That was like his religious item, like a crucifix to Catholics and all that stuff. But he was throwing urine and causing trouble for staff. So I said, during my rounds, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to take his feather and I'm going to tell him, you have to earn this stuff back and all that. But again, this guy wasn't mentally stable. Yes. So we got to the door, me and the other deputy there, and we're looking inside, and I tell him, go to the back, and he stands in the back, and he's, of course, naked. It's normal, and he has his hands behind his back. Well, the door rolls. We walk in. We take a step in, and he comes up, and at the end of a toothbrush, he melted a razor onto the end of the toothbrush. I don't know. They're very ingenious in there at making weapons. And he takes that, and he grabs his little willy, and he proceeds to slice it off. Well, when he does
all the way off.
Oh yeah, baby, all the way off. I mean, and when he did that, his reaction, his hand went forward. Well, in that hand was the little willy, and it hit me dead in the damn chest. And I'm sitting there and I've never seen so much fluid in my life coming out. It was, and I'm like, I was in shock. I always wore baseball gloves because the diseases and stuff like that. So that's. What do you do? I mean, that's not normal.
Wait, his baseball gloves like a catcher's mitt? No.
And it's like, so
a good habit.
I don't know sports.
he blacked out from the pain because he dropped right to the ground. And I looked over there. I said, "Hey, go get medical. Go tell the person with me." It was horrible. It was terrible. I always bring extra uniforms because you get stuff put on you all the time, but I never thought it would be a little willy that would be on my uniform.
Who wakes up in the morning and thinks that I'm going to have a little willy thrown in my chest?
So that sounds like what you just described sounds like that was like that's the craziest thing you've ever seen.
No, it's all crazy to me, Ricky. It's hard to say.
Jimmy,
but I've seen it.
Jimmy, we're talking, what is crazier than that?
Working in this line of work that I have, for the longest I have, you see all this stuff. These people, they come in here with drugs up their rectum. They come here with cell phones up their rectum. We have an inmate today that still stores stuff up in his rectum. And it's just, it's nuts. We have to run them through the ConPass and scans. And that's a big thing to have a cell phone inside the jail or prison. It's a big thing. And that's how they get drugs in there. No matter how good your security is, contraband's always going to make it in. There's always going to be a way. These people are dumb in certain ways, but they're very ingenious and smart in others. And they think of ways to get this stuff in. My wife's going to shake her damn head saying, "Oh, my Lord."
Well, she's heard all these stories.
Yeah.
She's heard all the stories you won't even tell us, I'm sure.
No, I don't tell her a lot.
You don't talk about the stuff at home?
My wife's very different from me in that. My wife is a very good, innocent person, and you
want to keep her that way.
I keep her that way. Yes. I don't.
We'll put a disclaimer. We'll rate this episode.
It's all flowers and bunnies in the jail.
That's right.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
All right. So what else? But leading up to where you are now, which you're in healthcare, right? So where else have you been in the jail? And then we'll get to that because there's a lot to unpack there.
Well, I've been everywhere. You name it, I've worked it. I've been there, done it. And I found every one of them had their good parts to it. And I really, really enjoyed training, like I told you, because I love people. I knew everybody, man. I don't care if they're the maintenance people, the janitor crew, the people that clean this. I would talk to everyone. I would make rounds around. I miss that because now people come in where I'm at and I don't even know who they are. And I used to pride myself from the road too. Corrections and road, to me, were all brothers and sisters. It didn't matter to me. And I know a lot of people on the road, and I took pride in that, to know everybody. I loved it. And now it's kind of sad because I see so many new faces and I have no clue who they are.
Right. So training is a good place to meet everybody as everybody's coming through.
Oh, my God, yes.
So just for context for our listeners, our training division, we have a law enforcement side and a correction side of training. And obviously Jimmy was part of the correction side. So how long were you in training?
I was in training, I want to say 7-8 years.
That's a long time.
Yes. Yeah. And what's good about we do have corrections trainers and law enforcement trainers, but we were one family. We all worked together. There were times where I would go and help law enforcement with training because we got certificates in driving and all that. And we did it all. We worked together, and it was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it.
So what's your favorite training niche?
My training niche?
Yeah, like what
You're
did you
using
like
big words, Ricky.
What
You
did
gotta
you
stop
like?
that.
What
All
did
right?
you like to teach the most?
Yeah.
What did you like training the most?
I like training newer people. I like to teach them personal skills. I like to teach them how to handle their stress. I always like to talk to them because people come into this job thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get beat up. And I used to tell them all when they started in this career, go get punched in the face, because then that way you know how you're going to react when it happens in the jail. Because if you've never been in a fight and you come into this line of work, we don't know if you're going to freeze or you're going to fight.
Yeah, until it happens, you don't know.
That's right. Yeah. And so a lot of people that work haven't been in that situation. And that's scary because if they freeze, you're going to hurt somebody else. You know, one of your other brothers and sisters.
You'll leave them vulnerable.
So I used to tell them to go out there and get punched in the face. How do you
go about that?
Or just go up there and say something wrong to somebody. And
go to the local basketball court.
Just go up there, have your friend punch you right in the damn face and see how you handle it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I know it sounds crazy, but it makes a big difference. When you get in this line of work and you get hit, I don't want you to just drop down to the ground. I want you to get up and I want you to fight, regardless. I want you to stay in the fight.
So maybe like doing jujitsu or something like that outside would kind of help you, even though you're not getting punched in the face. But
the perfect person.
I think the punch in the face though is that's the key.
Yeah, to get you past that right there. You know, I tell everyone, go up and tell Jeff Gatita, the sergeant there, something, and let him punch you or hit you. That guy.
No, thank you.
No. And that's what's another great thing about the sheriff's office. We offer all these training classes. We offer mat time. You can go in there and roll with people and all that. You know, and we teach you how to walk away from something bad.
But we don't punch people in the face.
No. Well,
Off the record.
I used to get hit a lot by my fellow trainers, because I was pick. I kind of pick with them. And when you pick with the big people that I was in training with, it didn't go too good for me. Ricky, it didn't go good.
So you never even want to fight in training?
No. Oh, God, no. Big Matt Seymour, Jason Franjezovic, all of them, Tim Knight, Christopher Groff, all of them. My God. I would pick and say things, and the next thing I know, I'd be regretting that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Is there anything else from training that you really enjoyed? Like any particular classes, like firearms or?
Well, I enjoyed it. I'm telling you, it ain't necessarily what you teach. It's who you teach it to and if they're receptive to it. And that was one of the biggest joys. And even when we used to teach the poor people in the CPI, when we had them, and I was so happy that they let us teach them some kind of defensive tactics.
Oh, wow.
Because they would go to these people's houses by themselves and take somebody's child away.
Yeah, the child
or
protection
have to go there and
investigators.
interview somebody that may be hurting this child. And I said, what would you do? I would used to talk to him. What would you do if this person said no? Well, I'd call an officer. Well, what would you do in between that time? What if this
Yeah.
person went to hurt you? And we started training them, and the energy that they came in with, man, you just absorb it because they want to learn. They want. That was a beautiful thing. Teaching people and them saying thank you or coming back later. There's people
Yeah.
today that come up and say, you know what, you were the best part of training. When we came, we used to be nervous,
wow.
but you would make us smile. You would make training enjoyable. I love that. I would take people saying thank you to me and all that over money any day of the week.
Yeah.
Except for the no showering part.
Right. Of course. That's
my
different.
money.
That's different. I didn't say anything about
All
words.
right.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good, people, I think everybody that I know that spent a fair amount of time in training has that, hey, what was that one thing that was really rewarding about training? Do you have anything specific like that where somebody came to you after an incident? Whether it was you
And said
outside of
they
training or not,
remembered.
but hey, I remember what you told us that day, Jimmy,
Yeah.
and it kept me safe.
Yes. Well, there was a deputy that called me up. He was assaulted at the healthcare facility by a mentally challenged person that was on SR, naked.
Suicide risk.
Yes. And that poor young man, he never gave up. And it was absolutely, we were watching the video, my heart went out, but I seen him. I was so proud of him because he never stopped. But he came later on after that event. That happened for 3 minutes. By the time response got there, I think it was around 3 minutes. And he never gave up. This guy got his taser, everything. And instead of cowering
bad guy
down,
got his taser.
bad guy got his taser.
I think I remember this.
Yes, and he did stop. He went right at him, and I was very proud of him, man. And he survived that not only physically but emotionally. Today he's a very positive person, good person. People love being around him. And he called me and he goes, I wanted to tell you thank you, and the training people thank you because what I learned there helped me get through that. What better reward is that?
Yeah,
You can give me
Absolutely.
every kind of award you want, but actually having it come from somebody that used what you gave them, it's I'm telling you, that's the best. That's the best part about being a sergeant is I got people, I can make a difference. I can go around and put smiles on people's faces. I can make people's days better. We celebrate stuff. We celebrate on Thanksgiving when we have to work and other people are at home with their children and family. We deep fry turkeys. We cook. We have fun. And we make people feel appreciated. And that's the biggest, man, that makes me feel so good.
So you're promoted to sergeant. When
Yes.
was that? A couple years ago now?
I think it's been about three years.
Okay. How was that conversation with the sheriff when he called?
Oh my God, I couldn't. Well, I thought I was being pranked, Ricky. I'm out as a corporal out in Sea Barracks, and I'm sitting there, and I get a call from Captain Kinzel, and he goes, "Call the colonel." And just hangs up. I'm like, "Oh dear God, what did I do now?" And I was like, "Oh Jesus, who's filing a complaint on me?" So I'm scared. I'm nervous. I call the colonel. He goes, "Call the sheriff," on his cell phone. And I'm like, oh God, it's just getting worse. Because we couldn't have cell phones in there.
Sure.
So usually when you get promoted, the sheriff calls you and talks to you about it. So I call the sheriff and sheriff goes, "I want to tell you congratulations. I'm promoting you to sergeant." I said, "Are you serious?" I was just so excited. I said, "Sir, thank you so much because I have been trying to get sergeant for many, 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 many years. And things hold me back, but I never gave up on it, and I didn't let it change my personality. I had my bad days and stuff,
Sure.
but I kept them to myself. And when I heard, oh my God, that was just the best in the world. I was so excited. Here I went from thinking I was getting fired in trouble
To
to
exact opposite.
Yes. Oh my God.
What does a bad day look like for Jimmy Fortner? What
I have my
discourages
bad days, Ricky. You know what? I have depression, just like anybody else, and I handle it through myself. I wake up in the morning thinking, "Oh God, I don't want to get up," and I get sad. I get worked up. I have anxiety issues in that, but I don't bring that with me. I don't put my burdens on anybody else. I keep that to myself, and I go get help myself. I
Right.
talk to psychologists. I have no shame in none of that.
No.
I wish everybody would be that way because get help.
Yeah.
And you can choose to come to work miserable. You can choose to come to work positive. When I get up in the morning, I take my shower, I get my coffee, and I go into that job. I choose to be positive and make a difference every day. Because I think of positive, I can make people around me positive. Negative people bring you down, and it makes the job horrible.
So
I'm not going to do that.
there's a stigma surrounding law enforcement when it comes to needing mental health
Yes.
services, which everyone, if you say you don't, you're lying, because you may not know how to recognize it.
That's right.
But you know, I would say that it's certainly not as big of a deal as it used to be, in my view, only because the younger generation's coming up. It's been a little bit more prevalent and more openly discussed. But I'm not saying you're old, Jimmy, but you know, you're of an older generation. What do you think the root of that is? Why are you open about it? Why do you seek that, but you think others may not?
Because people see it as a sign of weakness. You never want to admit you have an issue or a deficiency. And people see that as a sign of weakness. And they don't want people, oh my God, if I have to go and talk about my problems, let me tell you, I got in read off, and I tell them all, it's not a sign of weakness. I think that's a sign of strength.
Yeah, self-awareness.
That's right. You realize you have an issue. And instead of just ignoring it and letting it get worse, and it starts to affect you physically, mentally, you did something about it. You're brave. That's what it makes you. And I never been ashamed of it. I have to admit, you know, every now and then I still go meet with a psychologist and I talk to him, because I need to unload my problems, and I need to know, and I've learned a lot of tricks on how to handle my anxiety, how to handle all that stuff. So I've learned a lot from that. And I wish that everyone in this line of work, from the road deputies to the detention deputies to support staff to facility operations, anybody that has to see or go through what we do, get that help if they need it. And it's free. We all get it.
And confidential.
And confidential. Yes.
You know, this is our 11th episode, and I think that was probably the two most impactful minutes, because it's important stuff, and it's something that
100%.
We are always actively trying to address. In fact, the sheriff and I actually are part of Mental Health Fe Heroes, which is a county-wide foundation that provides mental health services for law enforcement, first responders, and folks, because, you know, all the agencies offer the services, but some folks are still concerned about the stigma and about anonymity and all those things. So that
nobody has to know you're doing it either.
Right, exactly.
And I make sure they know that, because you got your conspiracy people that think, oh, they go back and tell this.
Yeah.
It's not true. You go there and you get help, and it's confidential. It's about you. If you want people to know it, then tell people. Maybe you telling them I do it might get them to do it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why
It's
I have
normalized.
no shame in doing it. My wife will tell you I'm not perfect. You know, I have my problems. God bless her for staying with me and all that and putting up with me. But I had to get help. I had to, because I get anger issues. I get mad.
Sure.
I go through those moments where I pout because I didn't get something I wanted. And you know what, Ricky? I went down to All Children's Hospital one time when I was in my lows, when I left training and went back to jail, and I wasn't promoted and all this. And I was feeling sorry for myself. I really was. And I was getting help. And then I thought about a time when I was out by All Children's Hospital, and these poor kids that are never going to have a chance to get to where I'm at today in life, to experience life, to do that. And it put it in perspective for me. And I look at it that way now. How dare I be upset about these little things like this, when that poor child is never going to get a chance to go to prom, never get a chance to go to college, experience life, have children, family. And I can't do that. It's not, you can't do that. And that snapped me out of it. And I realized there's other people, you think you have it bad, there's people that have it worse.
That's good stuff.
Yes.
Inspirational Jimmy Fortner,
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. All right.
And Jimmy, you're on the Sism team too, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I've been on the Sism team, about 8-9 years. I recently got lucky, and now I'm assistant team leader for one of the squads. I love it. You know, I would hope that people would reach out more for Sism, but In the jail, I do talk to a lot of people. It doesn't go, it's all, again, it's confidential. I have people come to me and they tell me their problems, their woes, and I keep it and I don't mention their names and all that. And that's another great feeling because people trust me enough to come up to me and talk to me about not just work problems, but their personal problems. And it's so good when people can get that out. And I sit and listen to them. I am not a psychiatrist on that. I don't give them advice because I don't know if my advice is right, but I listen. I listen to them. I give them, I tell them, I make them positive. I give them positive things to think about and all that to get through it.
Yeah.
And what's Sism stand for again?
Critical incident
Stress management.
Yes.
Stress management. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was crisis.
And
or
it might
teen.
be. It might be crisis. No, it's critical incident. And that's like a peer based.
It's
Support.
It's
peer-based
support. We have
support.
different teams,
Yeah.
and it's made up of detention, forensics, law enforcement, everybody.
Civilians.
And civilians, yes, everyone.
I'm looking at a spot
Yes.
when one comes open.
Good. You should put in for it. It's amazing. And when like on the road, when shootings happen or you have to respond to a scene with someone dying or something like that, that's where we come in.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we can have counseling for them. We can meet them by themselves. We can talk to them. We let them know that they're not by themselves and handling that.
Right.
And hopefully that'll help people.
Yeah, and encourage them potentially to seek expert
Absolutely.
advice from psychologists. and
Yes,
things.
and it's a great thing that the sheriff has, and I hope it never goes away. And I even hope that people take it and use it more.
Yeah.
Because we again, it's not meaning you're weak. It's meaning you're strong and brave because you're battling something that's making you miserable.
Yeah, strong people face
Yeah.
things.
Yes.
Have the self-awareness to take care of it.
Especially in
Yes.
this field, there's things that detention deputies and law enforcement, out on patrol, out on the road, you guys see things that the day-to-day person does not.
That's right. And
At
we
all.
become, it's normalized for
Yeah.
us. We don't even think twice about it now.
Yeah.
But we do that underlying stress. I can say right now, oh, none of that bothers me. I've seen it all, but it is underlining. And,
It
and
builds
you do
up.
have it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
because you're also having to balance. This is unfortunately something I'm going to have to see regularly and deal with, but you
Yeah.
also have to keep moving forward and doing
Right.
your job. But
Right.
that's a challenging place that I think that as a society we all know that we put law enforcement and corrections personnel and first responders, firefighters, paramedics, we put them in this very interesting position. And sometimes people talk about it and it's seen as, when bad things happen with law enforcement or whatever, it's like, oh, well, this is, it's talked about like it's an excuse, but it's really just a fact. You take your normal life stuff, right? Family, whatever you got going on, and then you put all that stuff on top of it. And
That's right. And you know what people do? They turn to alcohol. They turn and they go home and they take it out on their loved ones, and it causes divorces. Look at the divorce rate for people, and look at the suicide rate. I mean, oh my God! I just wish these people that did that, my brothers and sisters, would have reached out, and maybe we could have helped them. Maybe something could have done instead of taking it to the extreme. It's a rough thing we do.
Yeah. I think part of, changing that is having these open conversations about it. And I think everyone at some point in their life, multiple times in their life, probably needs to speak to an expert about what you're dealing with. And it doesn't have to be anything that's, you saw someone die, it doesn't have to be that traumatic. It's just learning how to process your thoughts.
right.
And
people process things differently.
they do.
That's right.
So,
And to go to a professional is a great thing. I'm telling you, you'll feel so much better after it, and it helps me a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's being miserable takes a lot of work. It really does.
Yeah.
So why not be positive? Why not fight that? Don't come to work and be miserable and make everyone around you miserable. Don't do that.
yeah.
Choose to be positive. Choose to come to work and make a difference and make everyone else around you. Because if we all positive and we all work together, this place is a beautiful place to be. No matter what job you're doing, it's a beautiful place to be.
Well, again, thanks for sharing that, Jimmy. That's awesome.
For sure.
So at the very least, call Jimmy. for advice.
Anytime.
'Cause he gave a bunch of free advice just now for our deputies and other staff listening. All right, so you get promoted to sergeant.
Yes.
And where's your first assignment?
My first assignment's in North, right where I'm at right now.
Okay.
I hit the jackpot,
/
Ricky.
healthcare division.
Right.
Yeah, healthcare division.
Yeah.
I go right there. I take the spot of one sergeant that left, and I get right in there, and my God, I'm in heaven. And I got lucky and got the FTO spot.
Oh.
So because one of my friends wants me a lieutenant and need to move around, so she gave up her FTO
So you
spot.
got FTO sergeant in North Division.
Yes. Oh, and I'm in heaven, Ricky.
So you're still there. That's
yes,
okay.
yes. I'm the FTO sergeant.
Well, we
over
shouldn't
North.
talk about how happy you are because then that might change. We don't do that.
I'll always be happy.
Oh, we know.
Yes.
So
Or they'll hear the podcast. They'll say, "Oh, it's time to give him a promotion.
Yeah.
He'll be a lieutenant.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Move somewhere you don't want."
all right. So for context for our listeners, and this is something that, I mean, of course, the great part about our jobs and on the PR side is we're interacting with the public. We're seeing what is most interesting or shocking or surprising to them. And healthcare at the jail is always one of those things. So obviously, this year around, I think the budget is going to end up around $500 million for the sheriff's office. A big chunk of that goes to the Department of Detention and Corrections, and the biggest chunk of that goes to healthcare for inmates, which is people just don't expect. So our North Division, our medical building, is about a 400 and some odd bed medical facility because you have people that are coming with the people we get in jail are not in the healthiest. They're not in tip-top shape. They're not receiving regular care. And of course, to the general public, it's like, well, why is that our problem? It's like, well, it is because they're in our care, custody, and control, which is what corrections is all about. So, there's a lot going on. I mean, and it's a cost savings thing too, because we're able to treat a lot of things in house. Obviously, some folks still go out to the hospital, but we do have basically a hospital out at the jail.
Oh yes,
and that is where Jimmy is assigned.
Yes, we have great nurse staff. We have the doctors there. We have mental health professionals there, and they do an outstanding job to deal with because like you said, we have 80-year-old, 70-year-old people in there that have a lot of medical problems. We have people in there with diseases or just something's wrong with them. And God bless, our medical people do a great job in handling that. And they go through a lot just like us. You know, they might not be certified but their job it makes a big difference because that's a hard job to do in there. We have to pass medication. You have to take care of individuals with heart problems, and oh my Lord, it's tough.
Well, and I think, I correct me if I'm wrong, for some of the people that are in the jail, this is really their only experience with healthcare because they're transient or they just don't take care of themselves in that way. So this is actually, they're getting care that they would not get absolutely outside.
I've heard that some people even get arrested deliberately because they have a medical condition.
That's what I was going to tell you. I know several of these homeless people that they come in for maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months to sober up, get medical help, and then they'll tell you they go back out and they're going to do the same thing again, go out there, do their drugs or drinking or whatever it is they do, and they'll be back. And you see that revolving door with them. It's depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, but these people choose not to want to better themselves. This is the life they want. This is their life. This is what they choose to do. And it's I don't know what we can do to anything different. We have so many elderly people in that jail. I don't know what else we can do.
So what are some of the different housing areas and like kind of the structure in North Division? I know they have the individual cells. What do they call that?
We have single cells, administrative, and all that.
So the single cells where there's what, 8 cells or something or whatever it is, and they're monitored.
Well, yeah, all
monitoring.
different areas, different pods. We have all single cells on the second floor. Everywhere's there, and we house mentally ill people. We house uncooperative inmates. We have suicidal inmates.
High-profile inmates.
High-profile inmates a lot of the time. And then you go to the third floor where it's more open dorm, and you have your medical, but you still have psych inmates in there. You still have very dangerous inmates mixed among all kinds of, so you have the older inmates to the mentally challenged inmates in there, and you have this deputy in there with close
this
to
big
40.
open pod.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's again, it's scary. You have to be the right people to work in there. Then the fourth floor is you have the female side where we have mentally challenged females. We have pregnant females. We have sick females in there. Then you have 4H2, which that's the worst of the worst. You have your camera cells with the suicide people, that want to kill themselves all the time. They have to be put on camera, or the ones that cover themselves in feces, or the people that, we have young people in there that are just, their brains are so fried. They have no care in the world. It's just they don't understand what they're doing. And you have to deal with that. You have to provide them care, custody, and control. And to do that, you have to have that right demeanor. So a lot of times people move around there. They'll stay there, and then they'll go over to Central, where you have the less charges, and it's still hard, but it's different kind of inmate.
Right.
Then, of course, South is the max unit, where you have the general population and all that high priority people. Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in medical.
Oh yes, a lot going on in medical. We have it all. I know you had a chance to come out there and the tour of it.
Very eye-opening.
Yes. Everyone should come out and take a look at it and go on tours. I think tours are great.
Oh, yeah.
It opens people's eyes.
You don't know until you see it for yourself.
Yeah, just like the Citizens Academy. I love that. I think that's so awesome. And I wish it would bring back stuff for the youth. Bring these young people in and say, listen, you can have this future. If you go with the route you're going, if you're doing like trouble kids, we should bring them there. If you continue to do these drugs, you continue to be this kind of person. This is going to be your life every day. Let them see because maybe it can make a difference out of 1 out of 10 kids, then it's a great thing to have.
So when it comes down to the population that y'all deal with, so first of all, as the field training sergeant,
yes,
you're a little bit over, you get a little bit of everything then.
Oh yeah,
okay.
I have
like all the different housing areas. I mean,
yes, in that area. I'm in that area. I know every floor. I know how every area needs to be, and I have deputies, FTOs under me, and I have an FTO corporal who's awesome, and they do all the stuff they have to do, and I just oversee it all in that. But they're doing the hard work. They have these new recruits coming in, but we all meet together and we are all on the same page, and we make sure that these new people that are coming in get the training they need to make it a 30-year career to 35-year career, and to go home every day. That's what we do.
So you're of course getting, these are new recruits or new deputies that have come in. They've done in-house training. Now they're coming to you all.
That's right.
Correct. And then do they, and I think we talked about this with Lieutenant Hayes, but I don't remember. They start, so when you have a batch of new recruits coming in, new deputies, do they intentionally move around the jail to different places, or do they just start wherever they have slots? So maybe
no, we have an FTO coordinator, and they make a schedule for them. They'll come and spend 2 weeks in North, 2 weeks in healthcare, 2 weeks in South, 2 weeks in Central, 2 weeks in another area. They go around everywhere, and while they're going through these different phases of this training, all the way up to the last phase where they should be able to do the job on their own, but they get a little piece of everywhere. All everywhere.
Which makes sense because you can be transferred anywhere and do.
That's right.
Yeah. What about like day or night shift? Is that part of the rotation or no?
Oh yes. There's night shift FTOs, everything, because it's a good chance the newer people will be going the nights. So they have to know, and it's a different thing. During the day, we're hustling and bustling with courts and medical and all kinds of movement during the day. And then at night, they lock down at 11 and go to sleep. But you still have your issues and you still have your stuff you got to do. So they need to learn all of it. And they do go from days to nights. And then when it's time for bid, I tell them all, bid for what you want. You never know. You might get what you want.
Yeah.
So obviously we have a lot of pre-certs that come to us that still go through FTO, but then we have the brand new fresh detention deputies, recruits. What are you finding? I know on the law enforcement side, they have, all sorts of things they're noticing about the newer generation of deputy, of employee. What are you all seeing with?
Well, a lot of the newer people, you see a lot in the newer people that they come in thinking they have to be mean, tough, and it's not who they are.
Right.
But they think they have to be that to do this line of work.
You have to be able to do that.
You have to be able to.
But you don't have to.
But you have to understand something. You got to be professional in our line of work. You come in there, I can get an inmate to do something for me without saying, you piece of shit, get up, do this, or blah, blah, blah. I talk to him like a human being. Even though they might have threw piss or shit on me the day before, I still treat them like human beings. I don't hold grudges. And we make sure we tell them that. They have to have that attitude where they come in and they have to deal with a situation. You get, what's that saying there, you smart people?
More flies with honey than with vinegar.
There you go.
Is that
Bingo.
it?
Yes. And the way you deal with people, you have to be that kind of person. Coming in there thinking because you wear a uniform, you're untouchable, is going to get you hurt.
So some of them need to get their ass kicked by a little person then.
That's why I said they need to be beat, yes, by an arm that's 2 inches long. Holy God.
So we could combine it. We could find the first punch with the little person. And everybody,
A first punch from a little person.
Yeah, so we need to hire a little person to work in training and just punch every new
so
person.
So anybody out there listening to
Right
this
in the
that's
face.
coming into this field, go get beat up.
And little people we're hiring.
Yes.
So, all right. So in medical, obviously you have an experience a little bit of everywhere. What are, I mean, obviously the people that have mental illnesses and that are throwing and covering themselves and things is one thing, but what is kind of generally the most difficult population to work with?
The elderly,
Okay.
and the people overdosing. The people coming in on drugs or detoxing and stuff. I've unfortunately seen a lot of people die in there, and that's hard because this person is a young person, normal, but they're coming off these drugs or detox, and then the elderly people. When you have a 75-year-old man and he's saying these things to you, F you, this, that, and he's or using racial comments. They don't mean it. They have dementia or they have something like that. It's hard to deal with you. How do you reason with people like that? And there's really no way. You have to try to talk to them find a way that soothes them. And that's what I like to do. I find a way to talk to them that'll soothe them and make my day better because it's hard to deal with people that can't deal with themselves.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yes.
And what do you do if an 80-year-old who's frail starts to get violent? How do you
I
control them
do
without hurting
everything
them?
I possibly can not to have a use of force, that's for sure, because I don't want to hurt that person. That person, I look at it as it could be one of my family members in there. My God, I could have been locked up in that jail a lot of times in the past. I mean, but I don't want to hurt that person. So we do our best. That's where training comes in, and we do our best to deal with it without hurting that person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's got to take a lot of empathy and compassion.
It does. And you lose that. Working in this line of work, you lose compassion. And I think that's a weakness for a lot of people in law enforcement. Because you're surrounded by this ugliness and this stuff, you lose compassion for things. You stop caring about these people because all you see them as is a pain in the ass. And you lose that compassion. And once you lose that, you lose yourself. So you got to keep that compassion. You really do. No matter what this person does to you, let it go. Don't hold on to it.
Right. Don't, I know, I think we're talking to someone, I don't remember, it might have been, I don't remember who, but anyway, they were talking about how they don't even really pay any attention to the charges that people are in on.
No, I don't like to know that. You know what? That's funny you say that because that's one of my things. And I used to tell people in training, don't be so quick to find out what they're in here for, because when you get these child pedophiles and you get these rapists or you get these people that hurt little kids, you still have to treat them like you treat everyone else.
The same.
Exactly.
That's right. And it'll make it hard on you, especially if you have children and you're thinking about this person that just raped this poor child. You can't do that. You have to be professional and you have to give that person what they're allowed to have and treat them the way they're supposed to be treated. And that's hard when you know what someone's done. So I tell them not to do that.
Yeah.
It makes it hard.
So if you've been in there for 3 years, then you experienced COVID at its height.
God, yes.
What was that like?
That was that's difficult. Let me tell you, because everywhere was COVID. The movement was hard. You had to make sure you had extra fluids there. It was tough. Medical took it harder than we did because medical has all that responsibility on them. So
you're talking about the civilian medical staff.
Yes, that work in our jail. They had to take care of all that. And it was hard. We had to go with mask on. Now we're worried about it because we're around it all day. We go home. We take it to our loved ones. And at the time, we
didn't know what was going on with it.
We thought it was a death sentence if you got COVID. We used to hear all this stuff about people dying. So now you have that added stress on. You're coming to work to get your paycheck to take care of your family, but you might be bringing this stuff home to your family. Right. So you had to make sure you were taking extra precautions and keeping your, hygiene up and all that.
It wouldn't have been worth the $50K back then.
Oh, no, Jesus.
You're a part of the hurricane response team, right?
Yes. I went out. I got called to Bay County when they had that hurricane real bad. Well, I spent 21 days out there, 18-hour days at this jail. And let me tell you, we made a difference. The people that went out there, that is a great feeling. I was tired every day. We went from 6 in the morning to 8 at night every day working that jail because they had no staff, because these poor people that were working there, they lost their homes. They lost everything. And even at the jail, the roof was gone in parts of the jail. Water was coming in. The toilet was backed up. And you're dealing with all these inmates, and you have to realize they're worried about their family.
Sure. Yeah.
They're worried about, so, my God, it was stressful, but we made a difference out there. We made a difference with the staff and everything. And that's a good feeling to make a difference and to help.
Sure.
And we stayed out there.
Especially fellow officers.
Oh, yes. You build that morale. Man, I used to have people laugh. I have these people that were sad, crying, and then I have them laughing or feeling more positive. We all got together, the hurricane response, we put money together, and we went and bought a bunch of toys for the kids because there was people sleeping at the jail with their families. And we went out and bought shoes. We went out and bought clothes. We bought Christmas presents. We bought all this stuff for families out of our own pockets, out of our own heart. It's
as it could be you next time.
That's right. You never know, and you would hope that your brothers and sisters, no matter where they work, would have your back.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And so we have a hurricane response team on the patrol side that goes out and does search and rescue and things like that. But on the detention side, you guys actually go and work in their facility?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We go out there. What we did is
there's quite a bit across with that, too, I think, because our patrol guys were with them, too.
Yeah.
I think. Law enforcement guys.
Yeah, they were
Not
doing the
jail,
road stuff.
But they went together.
We went out. We went out there together, and what we do, they do what they do out on the road, and we did what we did inside the jail. Well, we had to go in there and control that jail. We had to run it. We had to feed these people. We had to get them phone calls. Remember, there's no power. There's no plumbing. There's no air conditioning. And you're inside this building with almost 1,000 inmates, and you have no staff, just your team there.
That's insane.
It is insane. And if you got it,
but it has to be done.
You has to be done. Yeah. You have to go in there with the right mindset and the right attitude. Or you could just make it worse.
Yes, and just for folks listening, it's part of a mutual aid agreement that Florida sheriffs have, where when storms come through, we have them statewide and nationally as well. So when Irma came through, not Irma. Well, Irma was here. Sorry, I'm thinking of Katrina. Sorry, Katrina came through. We sent folks to Mississippi and all over the place to help. So it's a good program and kind of allows, because you figure, I mean, as Jimmy mentioned, you got folks that have families and responsibilities as well. They gotta take care of that. Number one, your job doesn't matter if you don't have family at home to take care of and things to take care of. So that's really a great program that allows to give our partners relief, but also some perspective when you see what they're dealing with.
And no matter where you're at, if you're in law enforcement and the correction side or the road side, we're all family, no matter what state, county, in the city, anywhere. We're all family. We all need to have each other's backs.
For sure. Yeah. What you've been in corrections for a while.
Almost 30 years
You've been in prison system. You've been in county jail.
Yeah.
What have you seen change over the years? What are some of the biggest things?
The biggest thing is I'm seeing is morale's getting better. It's never going to be good because you're always going to have your negative things and people can't get over some things. All right. But I think that with the technology and the care and the extra help we're getting in law enforcement stuff is making a big difference. And I'll say it, 1,000 times. Our sheriff gives us everything we need and more to make our job easy, safe, everything. Everything we have is there. We just got to take those tools and use them properly. He gives us the Sism team. He gives us this free mental health service. He gives us these great benefits. But if we don't take advantage of them, then shame on you. You're giving it up. Because the other job I had, we didn't have that.
Right.
We didn't have none of this stuff. You have the ability to make yourself better here. Without coming out of your pocket or nothing. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And I think the newer people are realizing that coming in, they come in all, they never had to work a hard job for $8 an hour. These kids are coming in making $20-some an hour. My God, that's a lot of money. I know times have changed, but they don't know what it's like to suffer. And I have to tell them, slow your roll there, youngster. You got to realize,
youngster,
yeah, because they're probably still living at home with mommy or daddy or whatever. You got to slow that roll and be thankful for what you have.
And you've talked a lot about the qualities of a good corrections or detention deputy. I mean, you've covered it, but outside of is there anything you haven't mentioned yet that you think is really important if you want to be successful in corrections? Talked about attitude. Talked about, not coming in too big, not coming in,
Talked about getting punched in the face.
Yeah, you need to be punched in the face. What else?
Put other people first. Do that. If you want to make a difference and have a long, good career, put other people's first. Don't be that selfish person and you only care about yourself, because it'll make your job harder and everyone else's. I love playing Santa every year and riding around with
I'm not going to let you not talk about that.
We're going to go there.
Let me tell you, I love, and I'm not a kid person, buddy. I don't have no children. I like kids for a couple hours or something like that and then go away. But the joy of these kids and stuff, and the happiness you bring to kids, even adults. We walked through the jail this year as Mr. and Mrs. Claus walked through the jail over there at healthcare. Do you know the smiles? I've seen people smile that are miserable. I mean, these deputies and they were so happy to see us there, and we took some pictures with them, and that it was, oh my God, it's just awesome.
Wish I could have mic'd up Carol for that walk.
No, you don't.
Oh yeah, I do. That's good stuff. So yeah, that was. We definitely want to talk about that because I think, we had a correction sergeant before that was Santa. And then
Big Petruzzi.
And then and he was terrified to fly. So this works out a little bit better for you.
Oh yes, I'm not terrified. I get depressed if we can't fly.
Yeah. So it was a rough year this year, but
yes.
But yeah, so that's another great thing. Well, it seems like I said at the beginning, just positivity follows you wherever you go.
Well, good, and I hope it rubs off on other people. I hope we all have long, healthy careers. We can use this retirement money and live our lives to the fullest, my brother. That's what I hope.
So do you guys have anything else for Jimmy? So we usually ask all of our guests if there's something that you can share with the public that would make your job easier. If there's one thing you could ask them to do, or a way to change their thought, anything that you want the public to know.
The public, just to realize, the people outside of law enforcement is what you're saying, right? Realize what the people that are in it go through. It's tough. We all have our problems in certain jobs, but what we deal with in law enforcement, from the road to the jail, it's traumatic because you're seeing death, you're seeing happiness when people are getting released, you see happiness when these kids are getting their GEDs in the jail. You go through all these different emotions inside that jail, but when you go home, you have to leave the bad stuff at work, and that's hard to do. So it's just, we have to make a difference so the public can feel safe. And hopefully we can change some of these people's minds and get them on a different path. Hopefully, but
maybe they got to come see the jail to get that mindset.
Yes.
Well, Jimmy,
thought of something.
Yeah,
I thought of something too.
Look at this. See?
Yeah,
All right,
as soon as
what's
I said
yours?
no. So mine,
There you go.
I
There you
wanted to
go.
show this off. So Jimmy designed this fantastic challenge coin. I want you to hold it. I want you to show it off to the camera.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Tell us about this. This is one of the prettiest ones I've ever seen.
This is the FTO challenge coin for corrections. And when I make a coin, when I design a coin, I try to make it say where I'm at. You know, what says corrections? When you think of barbed wire, that says prisons, corrections
Instantly.
all over. So that's why I wrapped it in the barbed wire, and I put all the different areas that we have FTOs at in the jail on it. Before I made this one, I made a handcuff key because that says corrections. You know what? Challenge coins, you'd be surprised how many people collect them, and it makes a difference. They get excited about it. I have over 500 of them.
Oh, wow.
Throughout my years of collecting
That's
them.
right. I remember I used to see, when you were in training, you had, I watched your cases grow over the years. So
Yes, and
I'm glad you're still going.
Yes, I love doing it. I love coming up with an idea and people feedback from it. It's a beautiful thing. And you know what? This wasn't just my idea, this coin. This was a collaboration between other FTOs, so other friends of mine, all these other people. We all came together. It ain't one person that does it. You know, the last coin I did, I had help from one of your people. It helped me out and give me the idea to do this stuff. So it's everyone's idea. This is for everyone.
That's a super cool coin.
Yeah, this is a really beautiful
Is
one.
this something that is only a law enforcement kind of thing?
It's a
'Cause
military thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, law
but-
enforcement kind of
that's
stole
where
it.
it started.
Yes,
the military.
yes.
Yeah.
I think we jacked it.
And
yeah.
it proved
Because
it.
in law enforcement, I was never in the military, but I was told that
Yeah.
they used to come up and if they shake your hand and have a coin in it, you better have one back or you got to buy the next round. Or something like that. So it's a big thing. It's a beautiful thing, but a lot of people have adapted with the coins. You see coins for everything now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're called a challenge coin.
Challenge coin,
But
yes.
so, like military wise, would that be from a particular operation?
Well, different in the
Or-
military, they have different
Yeah.
parts of it.
Yeah.
And they would make their own coin.
Okay.
And then they would hand it and to get a coin would be an award. It would be a beautiful thing to get that coin if someone would give it to you. So
Was the challenge part because you have to accomplish a challenge, or because if you're challenged for that coin, you have to produce it? Is that where the challenge part comes?
I'm not,
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
I'm not sure the origin.
I'm not sure about all
there
that.
he goes.
Yeah, Ricky's got us.
Yeah,
I started collecting them when I came back to work here as a civilian. I'm building up my collection. So if anybody has any cool challenge coins they want to send to the PR office, attention, Laura Sullivan.
Yes, I love them. I display almost every one of them. When I retire, I plan on having a big display of all my coins. Right now, my wife would kill me if I displayed them all. She allows me to have a couple boxes up right now, but when I retire, that's going to be put in my retirement home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you
Not
find
the
an answer?
nursing home.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you Google an answer?
there's a couple answers out there, but yeah, it's associated with special units, operations, branches. It's a membership thing. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can mean it's what it means to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like them though. They're these nice
Yeah,
little
and this is a
pieces of
particularly
art.
beautiful one.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
That one's different.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
They're cool.
So, Jimmy, really appreciate you coming on, chatting with us, being so open with us. We had some great conversation about some things that are really important. Not all as entertaining as getting your butt kicked by a little person.
Yes.
But stuff that's way more important that I think a whole lot of people need to hear and really keep it on repeat for their entire careers, no matter where they're at. So we appreciate you coming on and being open with us, sharing with us, and keep doing what you do, which is being that little ball of positivity and making everybody happy.
Yes.
And
Don't be
stranger.
afraid to tell each other we love them.
That's right.
You'd be surprised how many people look at me like, did he just tell me he loves me?
I know.
I do love you. I love every one of
I
you.
love you,
tell-
Jimmy.
We love
Make
you too,
sure
Jimmy.
you tell people that.
That
Yeah.
makes me. Did you say that to the sheriff when he
Oh yes,
promoted
I
you?
love. Yes, I said I love you. He had to pause for a little bit, but I
He didn't say it back.
I was so excited. I do love him. He's awesome.
I know you say it to everyone, so I'm
Yeah.
like, I wonder if he did that during the phone call. Sheriff, I love you.
You know what people said? Well, you say that to everyone. I said I do. I said I even say it to the people that I've had problems with in the past. I even say it to them because I do love them. Just because we have disagreements don't mean I don't love you and don't respect you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Jimmy Fortner, everybody. Thank you all for listening, for keeping up with us here on 56. We, of course, as always, want to hear from you. If you have feedback about the show, anybody you want to hear from, you want to see. Laura, if somebody wanted to get in touch with us, how could they possibly go about doing that?
Well, hypothetically, they could send an email to lets56@pcsonet.com. That's LETS56@pcsonet.com.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
That was impressive.
That was impressive.
That's my only party trick.
I might hire you to do my voicemail.